The night had already settled across the river long before anyone called it late. The air still held warmth from the long day. The stones still carried the memory of sunlight. Above the quiet land, stars appeared one by one in a sky so dark and wide that it seemed older than thought itself. And in that deep and gentle darkness, where most people slowly closed their eyes behind mud brick walls and rested on woven mats, a few people remained awake. Tonight, we walk softly beside one of them. Not a king. Not a soldier. Not a priest standing before gold. Only a man sitting outside a grain storage house. Watching. Waiting. Listening. Because grain must sleep too. Far from temples and large city gates, beyond the busiest roads and crowded markets, there stood rows of storage houses built from sun-dried mud brick. Their walls were thick. Their doors were heavy. Their shapes were plain and practical. Inside them rested something more valuable than most people would ever hold in their hands. Not jewels. Not statues. Not treasure. Only grain. But grain meant bread. And bread meant tomorrow. So each night, someone stayed. The storage houses stood together like quiet sleeping animals beneath the stars. During daylight they were busy places. Workers came carrying baskets. Scribes sat with brushes and counted deliveries. Donkeys moved in slow circles under heat and dust. But at night, everything became still. Almost. A single oil lamp burned near one doorway. A guard sat nearby. And hours moved very slowly. Imagine walking there now. The road is hard beneath your sandals. Dust still clings to your feet from the day. The night wind arrives in soft waves from the river. Somewhere far away a dog barks once and then stops. You approach the storage houses. Their walls rise quietly in the darkness. Near the entrance sits a man wrapped in light cloth. One knee raised. One arm resting across it. His lamp glows low beside him. He notices you. But not with surprise. People who work nights learn not to react quickly. He only nods once. Then returns to watching. This is his work. Nothing dramatic happens. That is exactly the point. His work is to make sure nothing happens. He watches for thieves. He watches for animals. He watches for fire. He watches for weather. And perhaps most of all he watches against sleep. The hours are long. Longer than daylight work in some ways. Because time feels different when everyone else has gone home. Earlier in the evening, before darkness arrived, he probably ate a simple meal. Bread. Maybe onions. Maybe dried fish. Water carried in a clay jar. Nothing heavy. Night workers learn to eat carefully. Too much food makes the eyes heavy. Too little makes the body cold. He finished eating while the last sunlight turned orange. Then he checked the locks. Checked the doors. Walked the outer walls. Looked at the seals. Listened. Then sat down. Now the waiting begins. Around him, the village slowly falls asleep. Inside nearby homes, families settle. Children stop talking. Cooking fires become dim. Clay ovens cool. Someone sweeps sand from a doorway. Someone folds linen. Someone lies down with tired shoulders after carrying water all day. Somewhere a mother hums softly to a child. And slowly the sounds disappear. Only night remains. The guard adjusts his sitting position. His back aches. Everyone's back aches. Work in this world rarely leaves the body untouched. His shoulders know years of carrying. His feet no rough roads. His hands no rope and baskets and doors. Still, tonight is easier than harvest season. Harvest season never truly sleeps. That is when these storage houses become full. Fields near the river turn busy long before sunrise. Farmers move carefully through grain. Workers bend and cut. Bundles rise and fall. Dust fills the air. People sweat quietly. Nobody wastes energy speaking. Children sometimes help. Old workers move more slowly. Animals breathe heavily. Then carts arrive. Grain travels. Measures are counted. Records are written. Everything eventually reaches places like this. Storage houses. The resting place of many days of labor. Inside one building there may be grain gathered from dozens of families. Months of work. Months of heat. Months of hope. The guard understands this. Even if he never says it aloud. Perhaps his own family depends on grain stored nearby. Perhaps he spent years farming before receiving this work. Night guarding often goes to those whose bodies no longer enjoy carrying heavy loads. Older workers. People recovering from injuries. Men trusted to stay awake. It sounds simple. But trust is valuable. A sleeping guard is dangerous. A careful guard matters. The lamp beside him flickers. Oil burns slowly. He watches it. If the flame becomes too strong, it wastes oil. If it grows weak, darkness thickens. He adjusts the wick. Small movements become important at night. He stands. Walks. Returns. Sits. Listens. His ears slowly become sharper. Night teaches different hearing. You begin noticing soft things. Sand moving. Cloth shifting. Wind changing direction. A donkey breathing. A rat near grain. The tiny crack of cooling mud walls. Even silence has texture. Hours pass. The stars shift. The river continues moving. Always moving. Though unseen from here, its presence fills everything. The Nile is never absent. Its water shapes days and nights alike. During daylight boats travel. Fishermen cast nets. Children splash near shore. Workers wash. But now the river feels different. Quiet. Dark. Steady. A black ribbon carrying moonlight. The guard looks toward it sometimes. Not because he expects anything. Only because looking far away helps tired eyes. Near midnight the air cools. Not cold. Only softer. The heat releases its hold little by little. This is often the calmest hour. Nothing arrives. Nothing changes. Some guards enjoy this. Others struggle. Because calm can make sleep stronger. The man stands again. Walks along the storage walls. His sandals press softly against packed earth. He touches doors. Checks seals. One door. Another. Another. Each secure. He returns. Sits. And waits. His thoughts drift. Night workers think quietly. Maybe he thinks about tomorrow. Maybe about repairing a roof. Maybe about whether enough bread remains at home. Maybe about his children. Maybe about nothing at all. Tired people often stop thinking in full sentences. Thoughts become shapes. Images. Fragments. Sunlight on water. Bread cooling. Someone laughing weeks ago. The smell of wet clay. Then quiet again. A breeze moves across the storage yard. Dust shifts. The lamp bends. The guard pulls cloth tighter across his shoulders. Night has many temperatures. You only notice if you stay awake long enough. From one nearby house comes a faint sound. Someone coughing. A door opening. Footsteps. A figure appears carrying a jar. A woman crossing toward the well. She walks slowly. Used to darkness. She notices the guard. Raises her hand. Keeps walking. No words. Night greetings are small. Too many words feel unnecessary. She disappears again. Silence returns. The guard watches stars. Ancient workers knew them well. Not for romance. For time. For seasons. For knowing how long until dawn. No clocks. Only sky. And routine. He recognizes patterns. Certain stars mean the night is still young. Others mean morning slowly approaches. For now there is still time. More waiting. Nearby grain rests behind walls. Thousands upon thousands of tiny dry pieces gathered by countless hands. Each one ordinary. Together essential. If rain came unexpectedly, grain matters. If river levels changed, grain matters. If illness spread, grain matters. Storage means survival. The guard understands this without speeches. His work feels quiet. But not meaningless. He shifts again. His knees complain. He rubs one leg. Looks at the lamp. Checks the doors. Waits. Hours soften. The world becomes smaller. Lamp. Wall. Stars. Wind. Breathing. Then a sound. Very soft. Not danger. Only movement. A small animal near one corner. The guard rises. Walks. A cat slips away into darkness. He smiles slightly. Cats visit storage places often. Where grain exists, small creatures follow. Where small creatures gather, cats arrive. An old agreement older than memory. The guard returns. Sits. Night continues. And somewhere beyond the quiet storage houses, behind sleeping homes beside dark water, ancient Egypt rests. But one lamp still burns. And one pair of eyes remains open. Watching over grain. Watching over tomorrow. Waiting gently for the first pale light to appear above the river. The first pale hint of morning still feels very far away. The stars remain steady above the storage houses, and the world stays wrapped in the slow quiet that belongs only to the deepest hours of night. The guard does not count time the way people might count it in daylight. There are no bells. No marked hours. Only changes. The movement of air. The shifting stars. The cooling earth. The changing weight of tiredness behind the eyes. He sits beside the lamp and notices that the flame looks smaller now. Not because it burns differently. Only because the night has become longer. Long enough for even warm light to feel quiet. He reaches for the clay oil container beside him and adds a little more. Not too much. Oil matters. Everything stored, carried, measured, or burned has value. Nothing is treated casually. The lamp brightens for a moment. Its soft circle returns. Outside the circle of light, darkness remains calm and patient. His eyes move over the familiar shapes. Storage walls. Wooden doors. Hard earth. A stack of baskets left against one side. A low bench. Nothing unexpected. That is good. Night work rewards uneventful nights. Some people think watching is easy. Sit. Stay awake. Look around. But long stillness creates its own work. The body slowly becomes heavy. The mind drifts. Thoughts begin walking away. A person learns to notice the moment before attention disappears. The guard has learned. He stands again. Not because something happened. Only because staying seated too long makes the night longer. His sandals scrape softly across packed earth. Step. 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 He walks the outer edge of the storage yard. Each pass feels familiar. He could probably walk this path with closed eyes. But he does not. Night deserves respect. One careless moment becomes trouble. As he walks, he notices the smell in the air. Dry grain. Warm dust. Old mud brick. A little oil smoke. And beyond all of it, river air. Not strong. Only faint. Cooler than the rest. The river changes the smell of night. It always has. Days near the Nile are busy. But nights near the Nile feel larger. The guard reaches one corner and pauses. From here he can see part of the sleeping settlement. Small homes. Flat roofs. Dark doorways. Almost no movement. Families inside rest after another ordinary day. Perhaps one house belongs to fishermen. Tomorrow they will rise before sunrise. Untangle nets. Push boats into quiet water. Stand for hours. Return carrying what the river gives. Another house may belong to builders. Hands rough from stone and mud. Shoulders always tired. Another belongs to bakers. People who wake long before others. Grinding grain. Mixing dough. Lighting ovens. Their work begins while stars still shine. Everyone depends on someone else's labor. That is how places like this breathe. The guard knows many of these people. Not deeply. But enough. Enough to nod. Enough to recognize footsteps. Enough to know whose child runs fastest. Enough to know who always complains about heat. Enough to know who works too hard. Small communities remember one another quietly. He continues walking. At another doorway he kneels and checks the seal again. Clay pressed earlier. Still unbroken. Good. The seal matters. If disturbed, questions follow. Who opened it? Why? When? Storage houses live on records and trust. Earlier that day, scribes sat nearby recording amounts. Brush moving across prepared surfaces. Numbers. Names. Measurements. Their work looked calm. But it required attention. A mistake could mean confusion weeks later. Scribes spent long hours sitting. Back bent. Hands steady. Eyes working. Different labor. Still tiring. Everyone grows tired. The guard stands. Brushes dust from his knees. Returns to the lamp. Sits. Looks upward. The stars appear slightly different now. Not brighter. Only moved. Time has quietly continued. He takes a drink from his water jar. Water no longer cool. Still welcome. He drinks slowly. No hurry. There is almost never hurry at this hour. Nearby, a breeze passes across the walls. Soft. Then gone. The lamp flickers. His eyes become heavy for a moment. He notices. Straightens. Looks farther away. Night workers develop small habits. Stretching fingers. Changing posture. Standing unexpectedly. Looking upward. Touching cool walls. Anything to remain awake. Because sleep does not arrive dramatically. It arrives politely. Softly. One slow moment at a time. The guard remembers this. Years ago, during another season, he almost slept. Not fully. Only drifted. Just enough for another worker to laugh and throw a little dust near his feet. Since then he respects late-night tiredness. He watches carefully. Even himself. Far away a donkey makes a low sound. Then silence. Somewhere else another animal answers. Then quiet again. The night never becomes completely silent. There are always tiny sounds. Wood settling. Animals moving. People turning in sleep. Wind touching roofs. Life continues even when hidden. The guard notices movement again. This time not a cat. A person. A figure approaches slowly carrying something. No hurry. No fear. As the figure comes closer, it becomes clearer. Another worker. Older. Wrapped lightly. Carrying a small basket. The man stops near the lamp. The guard nods. The visitor lowers himself onto the bench. No greetings at first. Only shared quiet. After some time, the visitor offers bread. Simple flat bread. The guard accepts. Night conversations rarely begin quickly. They eat. Look outward. Then a few quiet words arrive. Nothing important. Talk about weather. Talk about river height. Talk about someone repairing a roof badly. Talk about grain arriving late. Long pauses between thoughts. No one rushes speech. People who wake early understand silence. The visitor says his house feels too warm tonight. The guard agrees. The visitor says his grandson talks in sleep. The guard smiles. Then both sit quietly again. Eventually the visitor stands. Brushes dust from his clothing. Nods. Leaves. His footsteps fade. The storage yard becomes quiet once more. The bread helped. The guard feels more awake. Not energetic. Only steadier. Night continues. Clouds drift briefly across part of the sky. Stars disappear. Then return. The air changes again. Somewhere very far away, perhaps impossible to hear but easy to imagine, water touches riverbank. Slow. Patient. Always repeating. The guard thinks about tomorrow. Tomorrow grain will move again. Doors will open. Workers will arrive. Scribes will count. Voices will return. Dust will rise. The yard will fill. No one will notice the quiet work done overnight. That is normal. Night work leaves few stories. When everything goes well, nobody talks about it. The doors remained closed. The grain remained dry. Morning arrived. Success often looks ordinary. He does not mind. His work is not for praise. His work is simply one small thread holding larger things together. He sits more comfortably now. Leans slightly against the wall. Looks across the sleeping yard. The lamp burns lower again. Time continues. Slowly. Very slowly. Then something changes. Not light. Not yet. Only a feeling. The air becomes different. Less heavy. Softer. Night begins releasing itself. The guard notices immediately. People who live outdoors understand these moments. Dawn announces itself before color appears. The darkness loses a little weight. The stars feel farther away. The wind shifts. Still quiet. Still night. But changing. He stands. Walks again. Checks doors. Touches seals. Looks across the walls. Everything remains exactly as it should. He feels satisfied. Not proud. Just settled. Nearby homes remain asleep. But not deeply anymore. Soon someone will wake. Then another. Then another. A baker. A fisherman. A mother preparing water. A child turning under blankets. A worker opening tired eyes. Morning always arrives one person at a time. But for now the storage houses remain quiet. The lamp still burns. The stars still watch. And one man continues sitting in the gentle darkness watching over grain storage houses all night while ancient Egypt slowly prepares to breathe again. The darkness does not leave all at once. It loosens slowly. Like cloth unfolding. Like warm water drifting away from the shore. The guard notices it before anyone else. People who stay awake through the night begin to understand small changes that daytime workers rarely see. There is a moment before dawn when the world feels suspended. Night is still present. Morning has not arrived. Everything waits. The storage houses stand motionless beneath the fading stars. Their walls, which looked almost black earlier, now begin showing shape again. Edges return. Corners appear. The ground becomes visible. Not bright. Only less hidden. The guard remains seated. His body feels different now. Not rested. Night work does not feel like rest. But there is a quiet satisfaction in reaching this hour. His shoulders are tired. His eyes feel dry. His knees complain each time he shifts. Yet morning carries its own kind of comfort. Not excitement. Only relief. He drinks the last of his water. The clay jar is nearly empty. The water inside tastes warm now. Still, it feels good. His lamp burns low. Soon it will not be needed. He watches the flame. Small flames become companions at night. You notice their behavior. You protect them from wind. You trust them. And then morning quietly takes them away. He lowers the wick. The light becomes softer. No need to waste oil. Nearby, a bird makes a short sound. Only once. Then silence again. The guard looks toward the settlement. Nothing moves. But he knows. People are beginning to wake. Inside one home, someone opens their eyes. Inside another, a child turns over and sleeps again. Inside another, an older worker sits up slowly and rubs tired hands. Morning always starts quietly. No sudden beginning. Only small moments. One by one. The guard stands and stretches. His back pulls tightly. He raises his arms. Rolls his shoulders. Looks across the yard. Everything remains secure. The doors closed. The seals untouched. No signs of trouble. A good night. Simple. Successful. He begins another slow walk around the buildings. Morning checks feel different from night checks. At night, he listens. Now he looks. He notices fine dust collected along walls. A basket leaning slightly. Footprints from yesterday. Small details. Near one corner, he sees tiny tracks crossing the ground. Probably a cat. Perhaps two. Nothing unusual. The storage houses attract quiet visitors. He walks farther. One building smells slightly stronger than the others. Dry grain. Warm earth. Dust. A smell that settles into clothing. Many workers carry that smell home. Their families recognize it instantly. You worked near storage today. You worked near bread. You worked near tomorrow. The guard rests one hand against the wall. Mud brick feels cool now. Later the sun will heat everything again. Walls. Roofs. Roads. Skin. But for this short hour before sunrise the world still belongs to cooler air. He looks east. The sky changes little by little. Dark blue softens. The stars fade without announcing themselves. One disappears. Then another. No one notices the exact moment. That is how mornings work. Nearby, a doorway opens. The first person appears. A woman carrying a small basket. She walks outside. Looks at the sky. Breathes. Then disappears again. Soon another door opens. Then another. The village slowly remembers itself. The guard smiles faintly. This part of morning always feels peaceful. The world rebuilding itself. No hurry yet. Not fully awake. A distant sound appears. Grinding stone. Someone preparing grain. Slow circles. Steady rhythm. That sound belongs to nearly every morning. Hands working before sunlight. Soon ovens will warm. Bread will rise. Smoke will drift. Children will wake. But not yet. The guard returns to his place beside the lamp. He sits one more time. Not because he must. Only because this hour invites stillness. His work is almost finished. Soon another worker may arrive. Or perhaps he will leave quietly. Night workers often disappear before busy hours begin. Their work fades into daylight. He looks toward the road. Empty. Then after some time movement. Two figures approach. Slow steps. Workers arriving early. One carries a measuring stick. Another carries writing tools. Scribes. Not young. Not old. Used to routine. They arrive without hurry. They nod to the guard. He nods back. No ceremony. No speeches. One asks softly. Quiet night? The guard answers. Quiet. That is enough. No long report needed. The scribes begin preparing. They check seals. Open containers. Arrange materials. Their morning starts where his night ends. One form of waiting becoming another form of counting. The guard watches. He notices how practiced they are. Nothing rushed. Everything in order. Brush. Board. Seal. Door. Hands remembering years of repetition. Soon more workers will arrive. Grain carriers. Laborers. People with baskets. People with complaints. People already tired. But this early moment remains calm. One scribe pauses and looks upward. Morning sky. Then returns to work. The guard understands. People often look at the sky before beginning. As if checking whether the day feels manageable. He stands slowly. Picks up the lamp. Almost empty. Good. Enough. He gathers his cloth. Brushes dust from his legs. The night is over. Now he walks home. The road feels familiar. His feet know every uneven place. The air smells different now. Cool dust. Morning ovens. Smoke beginning. Fresh bread somewhere nearby. Someone has already started baking. He walks through the settlement. People appear little by little. A woman carrying water. A fisherman with net over shoulder. A child still half asleep. Someone sweeping outside. Someone feeding animals. Nobody moves quickly yet. The heat has not arrived. This is the gentlest hour. He passes homes. From one doorway comes the smell of warm bread. From another comes quiet conversation. From another silence. People still sleeping. His own house appears ahead. Simple. Mud brick. Flat roof. Nothing grand. Only home. He pauses outside. Listens. Inside soft breathing. His family still rests. Good. He enters quietly. Sandals left near the entrance. The room feels cool. Dim, peaceful. He sits for a moment. No rush to lie down. Night workers often need time before sleep. His body still feels awake. His thoughts move slowly. He drinks more water. Sits quietly. Outside, the village grows louder. Not loud. Only alive. People beginning. Work beginning. Another ordinary day beginning. He hears footsteps. Grinding. Voices. Animals. Life returning. And he feels something simple. Contentment. The grain remains safe. The night passed gently. Nothing dramatic happened. Exactly as it should. He lies down. Places one arm beneath his head. Closes his eyes. Outside the river continues. The oven's warm. The roads gather dust. The storage houses fill with workers. And somewhere beneath the growing sunlight, grain rests quietly behind thick walls, waiting for another evening when another lamp will burn and another pair of patient eyes will remain awake through the calm ancient night. Sleep comes differently after a night of watching. It does not arrive quickly. Even when the body is tired. Even when the eyes feel heavy. The guard lies quietly inside the cool shade of his home and listens to the sounds of morning becoming day. Outside, footsteps pass. Someone calls softly to another person. A wooden door closes. A donkey shifts and breathes. Farther away, grain is already moving again. His work has ended. But the world continues. He keeps his eyes closed. The room smells faintly of clay walls and woven reed mats. There is also the gentle smell of bread from earlier. Somewhere nearby rests a folded cloth. A water jar stands in the corner, keeping what coolness it can. His house is small. Most houses are. Small rooms. Simple belongings. Places built more for shelter than comfort. But people make comfort anyway. A basket placed carefully. A smooth stone used as a seat. A cloth hanging to soften sunlight. Simple things become enough. His breathing slows. Outside, morning grows brighter. Soon the sunlight will begin touching rooftops. Then walls. Then roads. Then everything. Heat returns every day. Patient. Reliable. But inside the house the air remains softer. For now. He hears movement nearby. Someone else waking. Soft footsteps. A child perhaps. Or his wife preparing for the day. No one speaks loudly. People understand night work. When someone has stayed awake protecting grain, morning voices become quieter. Not out of ceremony. Only kindness. He opens his eyes once. The room glows faintly. Dust moves through narrow beams of light. Then he closes them again. Sleep finally arrives. Not deep at first. Only drifting. Thoughts soften. The storage houses remain in his mind. Doors. Stars. Lamplight. Then those shapes slowly disappear. Outside the day begins. By now the storage houses no longer feel mysterious. Workers have arrived. Doors opened. The cool quiet inside the grain room slowly changes. Voices enter. Footsteps multiply. Dust rises. One by one the day workers begin their routines. Some carry baskets balanced against hips. Some carry records. Some carry tools. Nobody arrives looking rested. Morning workers rarely look fresh. They stretch. Yawn. Rub their eyes. Begin anyway. Near one doorway a scribe sits on a low seat. Brush ready. Eyes focused. Deliveries begin. Names spoken. Amounts counted. Nothing dramatic. Only steady movement. A farmer arrives carrying grain. His clothing already dusty. His arms tired. His face darkened by years outdoors. He waits. His turn comes. The grain is measured. Recorded. Stored. Then he leaves. Another arrives. And another. Every basket represents days of labor. Walking. Sweating. Bending. Waiting. Storage houses receive all of it quietly. By late morning the air grows warmer. Workers notice. Nobody comments. Heat does not surprise anyone. People simply adapt. Cloth adjusts. Water breaks happen. Movement becomes slower. Energy becomes careful. The storage yard changes rhythm. Morning has energy. Late morning becomes steady. Nobody wastes effort. One young worker carries too quickly. Older workers notice. One quietly tells him slow down. Long days punish hurry. The young worker nods. Slows. Continues. Nearby another worker repairs a basket. Sitting in shade. Hands moving automatically. His fingers know the work without thought. Repairing is constant. Everything wears. Rope. Sandals. Walls. Containers. Nothing lasts forever. Life becomes maintenance. At midday the brightness becomes heavy. The roads seem brighter than before. The air feels thicker. People look for shade whenever possible. The storage walls become valuable. Workers stand near them. Sit beside them. Drink. Rest. Someone shares bread. Someone else shares onions. Small meals. Simple conversations. Then back to work. No one speaks much. Heat shortens words. Back in his home, the night guard sleeps more deeply now. The sounds outside fade. His body finally releases the night. Dreams come quietly. Nothing unusual. Bits of memory. Walking. Stars. Dust. Sometimes night workers continue guarding even in sleep. Checking doors that no longer need checking. Listening for sounds that are not there. Then resting again. Hours pass. The village changes shape under sunlight. Children move through shaded spaces. Women prepare food. People carry water. Builders continue repairs. Fishermen return. The river reflects harsh daylight. But eventually even the hottest day begins leaning toward evening. Slowly, workers notice. The shadows stretch. The brightness softens. People become less quiet. Heat loses its grip. Storage activity slows. Deliveries become fewer. Records finish. Doors begin closing. One by one. Measurements completed. The grain rests again. Scribes stand carefully. Stretch aching backs. Gather tools. Laborers brush dust from clothing. Everyone looks tired. Not unhappy. Just finished. By late afternoon the guard wakes. Not suddenly. Slowly. His eyes open. The room feels warmer. Outside sounds have changed. Different voices now. Return home voices. End of work voices. He sits up. For a moment he forgets the hour. Night workers often do. Morning and evening become strange. He drinks water. Stands. Steps outside. The sunlight is softer now. The air easier. Nearby, daily life continues. Children move through roads. Someone carries firewood. Someone laughs once. Someone washes tools. The guard walks slowly. His body feels better. Not fully rested. Enough. He stretches again. Looks toward the storage houses in the distance. Soon he will return. Not immediately. There is time. He eats. Bread. Vegetables. Water. Simple food. His family talks quietly. Nothing urgent. Stories from the day. Who visited? Who argued? Whose roof leaked? Ordinary things. Life measured in ordinary things. He listens. Speaks little. Night workers often save words. Soon the sky begins changing again. Warm colors appear. The heat leaves. The roads cool. Smoke rises from evening fires. People settle. Meals happen. Doors close. Children become sleepy. The village exhales. And once again the storage houses begin their transformation. From busy daytime buildings back into silent guardians of grain. Doors close. Seals press. Workers leave. The final footsteps fade. The evening deepens. And somewhere nearby the same guard begins walking once more. Lamp. Water. Cloth. Routine. No excitement. No ceremony. Only another quiet night beginning. The stars are not visible yet. But they are coming. The grain waits. The doors wait. The silence waits. And patient footsteps move again across dusty ground, returning to watch over grain storage houses all night. Evening arrives without announcement. No trumpet. No signal. Only a slow change in color and temperature. The roads soften from bright gold into quieter shades. The heat that had pressed against walls and shoulders all day begins to loosen. Long shadows stretch across the packed earth. The air feels easier to breathe. The guard walks at an unhurried pace. His lamp hangs lightly from one hand. A folded cloth rests over his shoulder. He carries no special tools. Night work is less about carrying things and more about carrying attention. Along the road, other people are returning home. Workers move in small groups. A fisherman walks with an empty basket and tired steps. A builder rubs dust from his arms. A woman balances water carefully and pauses once beneath the shade of a wall. People pass one another with short greetings. No one speaks much at this hour. The day has already taken most of their words. The guard continues. Ahead, the storage houses wait. They always seem different in evening. During daylight they belong to labor. At night they belong to silence. As he approaches, a few final workers remain. Doors are being closed. Clay seals prepared. Measurements checked one last time. A scribe sits low near an entrance and studies marks in fading light. Another worker rolls a shoulder and quietly complains that the baskets seemed heavier today. Someone laughs softly. Only once. The guard reaches the yard. One of the workers nods toward him. No formal exchange. Only recognition. Your hours begin. Mine are ending. The scribe stands slowly. Careful with stiff legs. He checks a final record. Looks over the doors. Then leaves. One by one the others disappear down dusty roads. Soon only the guard remains. Again. The storage yard feels larger when empty. Without voices and movement, distances seem wider. The walls look taller. The spaces between buildings become deeper. He begins his routine. Always the same. Walk. Check. Look. Pause. Continue. One doorway. Secure. Another. Secure. Another. Secure. His fingers touch seals lightly. His eyes follow hinges and locks. No hurry. Night rewards patience. When he finishes the first round, he places the lamp in its usual place. Its glow spreads across familiar ground. The first stars appear. Not many. Only enough to remind the sky what it is becoming. The guard sits. He listens. There is a strange moment each evening when daytime sounds continue in the distance while night sounds begin arriving. Children still awake. Someone preparing food. A donkey shifting. A dog barking. At the same time crickets begin. Wind changes. Quiet expands. The two worlds overlap for a little while. Then day disappears. Nearby, smoke from cooking fires drifts slowly. The smell reaches the yard. Bread. Warm grain. Cooked vegetables. Oil. Simple evening smells. The guard breathes them in. Soon his own evening meal will feel far away. Night stretches time. Earlier meals feel distant. Sunset feels distant. Morning feels impossible. He settles more comfortably. The lamp burns steadily. Above him, stars multiply. Ancient nights feel full of stars. Without bright streets or crowded lights, the sky opens completely. Patterns become clear. Dark spaces become visible. The world above seems endless. People notice it more. The guard has seen the sky thousands of times. Still he looks. Not searching. Only looking. At night, looking becomes its own kind of rest. The village sounds continue shrinking. Doors close. Voices soften. One by one. Until the storage houses become one of the quietest places nearby. A small breeze passes. It carries fine dust. He pulls the cloth closer. Not because of cold. Only habit. The body cools differently after sunset. He stands and walks again. This time farther. Around the outer edge. His sandals press lightly into earth. Step. Pause. Step. He notices details. A small crack in dried ground. A basket left stacked neatly. Marks where carts stood earlier. Night reveals things differently. Objects become shapes. Shapes become familiar. At one side of the yard he stops. Looks toward the river. Still hidden. But present. Always present. Even without seeing water, people feel its existence. Its smell. Its cooler air. Its steady influence. Tomorrow workers will talk about water levels. Someone always does. The river is never absent from conversation for long. He listens. Far away something soft. Maybe water. Maybe wind. Night blends sounds together. He returns to the lamp. Sits again. His body relaxes carefully. Too much comfort invites sleep. Too much movement invites exhaustion. Night workers learn balance. He rests his hands on his knees. Looks outward. Time slows. This is the hour before deep night. The hour when people are mostly asleep but not fully settled. You can still imagine movement behind walls. Someone turning over. Someone waking briefly. Someone checking a child. Someone drinking water. Then sleeping again. The guard knows. Soon another layer of quiet will arrive. A deeper quiet. The kind that feels almost physical. He waits. And little by little it comes. The village settles completely. No footsteps. No voices. Only occasional sounds. Animals. Wind. The soft breathing of night itself. The guard notices his own breathing. Slow. Steady. His eyes move to the lamp. Then the doors. Then the stars. Then back again. Simple circles of attention. This is the rhythm. Not dramatic. Not difficult. Just long. His thoughts drift gently. He remembers harvest fields. Long rows of grain. Dry hands. Warm mornings. He remembers carrying baskets years ago. Back stronger then. Feet faster. Now his work is quieter. Different. Still useful. Useful feels enough. He hears a faint movement again. Very small. He waits. Listens. Another sound. Near one wall. He stands. Walks calmly. No rush. At the corner he sees movement. Only a small animal again. Searching. Then leaving. He watches it disappear. Returns. Sits. Night continues. The stars climb. The lamp burns. The storage houses remain silent. Inside thick walls grain rests. Outside one worker remains awake. And the ancient world, tired from another long day of heat and labor, settles gently around him, breathing slowly, sleeping deeply while he watches over tomorrow in the quiet hours beneath the endless desert sky. The deeper hours of night arrive so quietly that they almost feel imagined. The guard does not notice the exact moment. There is no line between evening and deep night. Only fewer sounds. Less movement. Longer spaces between thoughts. The lamp beside him burns with a small steady flame. It no longer pushes back the darkness very far. Instead it creates a soft island of light surrounded by calm shadow. Beyond that circle the storage houses wait. Their thick walls hold the warmth of the day and protect what rests inside. The guard sits with his hands folded loosely. His eyes move slowly. Door. Wall. Ground. Sky. Door again. The rhythm repeats. Night teaches repetition. Not the hurried repetition of carrying baskets. Not the endless repetition of grinding grain. This is quieter. Look. Wait. Listen. Breathe. Look again. Far away a faint wind moves. It does not reach him immediately. First it touches distant fields. Then empty roads. Then rooftops. Only after a while does it arrive at the storage yard. When it does, the flame bends. The cloth at his shoulder shifts. Dust lifts and settles again. The guard closes his eyes for only a moment and feels the cooler air. Then opens them. A moment is enough. Night workers respect moments. Too many moments become sleep. He stands. This time he walks more slowly than before. His body feels heavier now. Not weak. Only aware of time. He circles the first building. One hand brushing lightly against the wall. Mud brick has texture. Small rough places. Warm places. Cool places. Places repaired years apart. Buildings age quietly. Storage houses are always being maintained. A corner strengthened. A crack filled. A doorway repaired. People spend entire lives keeping ordinary things standing. He reaches one of the doors. Stops. Listens. Nothing. Of course nothing. Still he listens. Because routine itself becomes reassurance. He checks the seal. Untouched. He moves on. As he walks, his eyes slowly adjust farther into darkness. Night vision feels different. At first everything disappears. Then slowly the world returns. Shapes. Movement. Depth. By midnight, shadows become familiar companions. He no longer needs the lamp to know where the path turns. He knows. His feet remember. At the far side of the yard he pauses. From here the village looks distant. Small. Dark. Most homes show no light now. People are asleep. Some lie alone. Some beside family. Some outside where air moves more freely. Children drift sideways during sleep. Workers rest heavily. Older people wake and sleep in cycles. The entire settlement breathes together. The guard imagines none of this directly. But after years of nights, you begin to feel it. You sense when a place sleeps. You notice when silence changes. He sits again. This time not on the bench. Directly on the ground. Earth still holds warmth. He stretches one leg. Then the other. His knees appreciate small kindnesses. Above him stars. So many stars. The sky feels endless. Some stars seem brighter tonight. Or perhaps his eyes feel calmer. There is time to look. Day workers rarely look upward. There is too much to do. Night gives different gifts. Not easier. Just quieter. He follows patterns he knows. Certain stars mark seasons. Certain stars remind people when planting approaches. Certain stars belong to stories told by older relatives. Stories repeated beside meals and evening fires. Simple stories. Nothing grand. Stories that help time move. His father used to tell stories while repairing tools. Never quickly. Always slowly. Sometimes the stories had no ending. They simply stopped because sleep arrived. The guard smiles faintly at the memory. Then returns to watching. Another hour passes. Or something like an hour. Time stretches strangely. The lamp needs oil again. He refills it carefully. The oil smells familiar. Everything at night becomes familiar. Even small tasks feel steady. He notices his stomach. Not hungry. Not full. Just aware. Night changes appetite. Food feels distant. He thinks briefly of morning bread. Warm bread. Fresh bread. Then the thought passes. Nearby a sound. Soft footsteps. He turns. A figure appears slowly from the road. Not unexpected. A traveler perhaps. No. Closer now. An older worker. Carrying nothing. Walking quietly. The man stops near the storage yard. Looks at the guard. Nods. The guard nods back. The visitor speaks softly. Could not sleep. The guard understands. Hot nights do that. The older man stands nearby for a while. Not entering. Just standing. Looking upward. After a time he says the air feels cooler tonight. The guard agrees. Another pause. The older man says he remembers watching grain years ago. Long nights. Slow stars. The guard nods. Nothing else is needed. The visitor eventually leaves. His footsteps fade. Night becomes whole again. The guard watches the road after he disappears. Then returns to stillness. The deepest hours have a strange softness. The world feels slower. Thoughts feel quieter. Even worry becomes sleepy. The guard notices his breathing again. Slow. Even. His eyes move to the nearest storage building. Inside grain. Thousands of quiet meals. Thousands of future mornings. No sound. No movement. Only waiting. He wonders briefly whose grain rests inside. Families. Workers. People he knows. People he only recognizes. People already asleep. Tomorrow they will wake and continue. Carry. Cook. Repair. Fish. Bake. Sweep. Count. Life moving in circles. The guard sits. And watches. Not because something dramatic may happen. But because ordinary life depends on ordinary care. That thought stays with him quietly. The stars move. The air cools slightly more. The lamp glows. And somewhere beyond the sleeping village the river continues sliding through darkness, silent, steady, never stopping, while one patient worker remains awake. Keeping watch through another calm and endless ancient night. The night settles into its quietest shape. Not empty. Not silent. Only soft. The kind of quiet that feels wide rather than still. The guard remains seated beside the lamp and notices how even his own movements have become slower. His hands move less. His eyes linger longer. His breathing matches the pace of the hours. This is the middle of the night. The hour that belongs to no one. Too late for evening. Too early for morning. A strange and gentle place in between. The stars seem fixed overhead. The roads disappear into darkness. The storage houses stand without shadows. Everything appears patient. The guard rests his hands against the earth. The ground feels cooler now. Earlier it still carried the memory of sunlight. But the heat has traveled upward and away. Soon the earth will begin preparing to receive another day. He looks at the lamp. Its light is small. Enough. Nothing more is needed. Too much light feels unnecessary at night. A small flame teaches attention. You look carefully. You notice shapes. You move slowly. Perhaps that is why night workers become calm. The world asks them to. He stands again. Not from concern. Only because sitting too long invites dreaming. He begins another walk. Always the same path. Always changing slightly. Tonight the dust feels finer beneath his sandals. Or perhaps he only notices it more. He reaches the first row of storage buildings. Runs his fingers lightly over one sealed door. Cool clay. Dry wood. Secure. He moves on. The grain inside remains unseen. Yet everyone nearby depends on it. That thought feels ordinary to him. But ordinary things often hold entire worlds. Bread begins here. Meals begin here. Morning strength begins here. Someone tomorrow will wake hungry. Someone will bake. Someone will carry food to a worker. Someone will eat while sitting in narrow shade. And all of it quietly begins in places like this. The guard walks farther. At one corner of the yard there is a low wall. He stops there. From this place he can see more sky. The village becomes smaller. The night becomes larger. He sits on the low wall. Looks upward. No clouds. Only stars. Ancient skies feel endless because nothing interrupts them. No bright windows. No crowded roads. Only darkness and distance. He follows one cluster of stars. Then another. He does not think about names. Only familiarity. Some stars seem like old neighbors. Always appearing. Always returning. He remembers childhood evenings. Long ago. Sitting outside a different house. Watching older relatives work while daylight faded. Someone repairing sandals. Someone sorting grain. Someone telling stories slowly. Stories about floods. Stories about difficult harvests. Stories about workers who slept through their watch and never stopped hearing jokes about it afterward. Simple stories. Nothing heroic. People remember ordinary lives more than they expect. The guard smiles quietly. Then the memory passes. The air shifts again. Cooler. The deepest part of night often surprises people. Even after hot days. He wraps his cloth more closely. Not because he feels cold. Only comfortable. Nearby something scratches softly. He waits. Listens. The sound repeats. He looks. Near one wall a cat. Thin. Careful. Moving slowly. The animal pauses. Looks at him. Then continues. Night belongs to animals too. Cats around grain storage understand patience. No rushing. No wasted movement. The guard watches until it disappears. Then he returns to his place. He sits. The lamp waits. Time continues. Far away a faint sound. Water birds perhaps. Or someone near the river. Night makes distances difficult. Sounds travel strangely. He imagines fishermen preparing early. Some workers begin before dawn. Boats pushed quietly. Nets lifted. Words kept soft. Morning work often begins while most people still dream. Life overlaps. Someone sleeps. Someone works. Someone rests. Someone waits. The guard thinks about this while looking outward. His own schedule feels separate from daylight. Sometimes he sleeps while others eat. Sometimes he wakes while others prepare for rest. Night workers belong partly to another rhythm. Still the work matters. He adjusts the lamp again. The oil level lowers. He estimates. Enough remains. Careful habits become automatic. Nothing wasted. Nearby the walls release tiny sounds. Soft settling noises. Heat leaving clay. Buildings breathing. At first such sounds might surprise someone. After years they become comforting. The storage houses are alive in their own quiet way. Not moving. Not changing quickly. But responding. Holding warmth. Releasing it. Standing. Protecting. The guard stretches his legs. Looks toward the road. Still empty. Good. Most nights are empty. Empty nights are successful nights. His eyes begin feeling heavier. Not dangerously. Just honestly. He knows this hour. Everyone who works nights knows it. Thoughts become slower. The body asks questions. Would sitting differently help? Would standing help? Would walking help? He stands. Walks again. Longer this time. He circles all the buildings. Step after step. Dust. Stone. Earth. Back to the beginning. His body wakes a little. Enough. He stops near the entrance and looks outward. Beyond the road lies darkness. Beyond darkness lies river. Beyond river lies more land. More workers. More villages. More storage houses. More people finishing long days. He wonders if somewhere another guard sits under another lamp. Watching another quiet building. Probably. The world is full of ordinary people staying awake for ordinary reasons. The thought feels peaceful. He sits again. The lamp glows. The stars continue. The village sleeps. Hours pass unnoticed. Then something almost impossible to describe. The darkness changes. Only slightly. No color yet. No morning. Just a feeling. The deepest part of night has begun to loosen. The air becomes gentler. The sky feels less heavy. The guard notices. Not with excitement. Only recognition. Not yet. But soon. He settles back beside the lamp. Looks once more across the sleeping storage yard. Everything remains untouched. Everything remains quiet. Inside thick mud brick walls grain rests in darkness. Outside one patient worker remains awake while somewhere beyond sight the river flows under fading stars and another ancient morning slowly begins thinking about arriving. The change begins long before light. It arrives so softly that no one waking late would ever notice it. The guard notices. People who stay awake through entire nights become familiar with transitions. They learn that morning does not appear suddenly over the horizon. Morning starts as a feeling. The darkness becomes less complete. The air shifts. The world feels as if it is quietly preparing itself. The guard sits beside the lamp and watches the storage yard. Nothing has changed. The walls remain still. The doors remain sealed. The grain remains protected. And yet the night itself feels different now. He rests his elbows lightly on his knees. His body feels heavier than earlier. Not uncomfortable. Only worn in a familiar way. His eyes are tired. His shoulders feel older. But there is comfort in reaching this hour. The hardest part of staying awake has already passed. Now the night begins giving itself back to morning. He looks upward. The stars still cover the sky, but not with the same strength. A few seem quieter. A few seem farther away. The sky no longer feels endless. It feels closer. He lowers the lamp wick a little. The darkness no longer needs to be pushed away so strongly. Oil saved tonight becomes oil available tomorrow. Small decisions repeat across every part of life. People save cloth. Save grain. Save effort. Save water. Save light. Nothing wasted. He stands and begins another slow walk. This one feels different. Night rounds feel watchful. Early morning rounds feel reflective. He walks without hurry. Touches a doorway. Checks a seal. Looks along a wall. His feet know exactly where to step. Years of routine turn roads into memory. As he reaches the far side of the yard, he stops. The air feels cooler here. A faint current drifts from the direction of the river. Not enough to move cloth. Only enough to notice. He closes his eyes for a moment. Breathes. Dust. Clay. Oil. Dry grain. Cool air. Simple smells. A whole world built from ordinary things. He opens his eyes again. The horizon remains dark. Still time. He sits on the low wall once more. This hour often invites thinking. Not deep thinking. Night makes thoughts softer. He remembers a harvest season from years ago. Fields crowded with workers. Morning beginning before sunrise. Everyone moving carefully. Hands cutting. Bundles gathering. Sweat already appearing before daylight fully arrived. Someone singing quietly. Not performance. Only rhythm. Someone complaining about sore feet. Someone laughing. Dust floating through early sunlight. Then carts. Always carts. Everything eventually becoming grain in storage. He remembers being younger then. Walking faster. Sleeping harder. Thinking less about tomorrow. Now tomorrow feels closer. Not in a sad way. Only in the way older workers begin measuring time differently. Seasons become noticeable. Children become taller. Buildings receive repairs. You realize years have passed because familiar things slowly change. He looks at the storage houses. They have changed too. Walls repaired. Doors replaced. Workers come and go. But their purpose remains. Protect. Store. Wait. He likes that. There is comfort in things that know their purpose. A bird calls once. Then again. Not many birds yet. Only one. The guard notices immediately. First sounds of approaching morning. Still faint. Still rare. But present. He looks toward the settlement. No movement visible. Yet people are beginning to shift in sleep. Someone will soon wake naturally. Someone else because of heat. Someone because work begins early. Morning enters homes quietly. He stands again. Walks farther than before. Past the final row. Toward the outer edge. The road beyond feels empty. He pauses there. Looks outward. Nothing. Only darkness softening at the edges. He listens. There very far away is sound. Water. Or perhaps a boat moving. Or reeds shifting. The river often speaks softly before dawn. Not loudly. Just enough to remind everyone it never sleeps. He imagines fishermen preparing. Quiet hands. Rolled nets. Bare feet on cool ground. People who know mornings better than afternoons. People whose days begin while stars still remain. Soon smoke will rise. Soon bread ovens warm. Soon roads gather footsteps. But not yet. The guard returns. The lamp is low. He sits. He does not relight it brighter. Morning will handle the rest. He watches the flame. Small. Steady. He thinks about how many nights he has watched flames like this. Hundreds. Maybe more. Different lamps. Different seasons. Same quiet work. People rarely remember who watched storage houses. People remember harvests. Floods. Big events. But nights like this disappear. And yet without nights like this other things become difficult. He feels no disappointment. Ordinary work does not need to be remembered to matter. That thought sits quietly beside him. The darkness continues changing. Now the horizon shows the faintest difference. Not color. Only softness. The stars nearest the edge begin losing confidence. The guard notices and smiles slightly. Not because the night is ending. Because the night was good. Nothing happened. The grain rested. The doors remained closed. The lamp lasted. These small successes feel complete. Nearby a sound. A door opening in the village. Then another. Someone awake. Morning has placed one foot into the world. The guard sits straighter. Not because more work begins. Only because transition has started. This is his favorite hour. Not night. Not morning. Both together. The air feels gentle. The world feels patient. Even tiredness feels softer. He watches. Waits. Breathes. And beneath fading stars beside quiet storage houses with grain sleeping safely behind thick mud walls, the ancient world slowly turns toward another day. The first signs of morning never belong to the eyes alone. They arrive through sound. Through air. Through small movements hidden behind walls. The guard remains beside the lamp and listens. A distant door closes gently. Somewhere farther away, a clay jar is set down. A bird calls once and then becomes quiet again. Nothing dramatic. Only the world beginning to remember itself. The sky still appears dark overhead, but along the horizon there is a softness now. The stars remain. Yet they no longer feel endless. The guard notices this with quiet familiarity. He has watched many nights reach this place. No two feel exactly alike. Some mornings arrive through wind. Some through cool air. Some through distant voices. This morning feels calm. Slow. Almost reluctant. He rises from the ground. His knees complain in the familiar way they always do. He stretches carefully. One shoulder first. Then the other. Night leaves its marks gently. He picks up the lamp. The oil is nearly gone. Good. Enough for the night. He lowers the flame until it becomes very small. Its work is almost complete. He walks again. One more round. Not because he doubts anything. Because endings deserve attention too. He moves past the first storage house. Touches the door. Secure. The next. Secure. The next. Secure. His fingers move lightly over dried clay seals. Tiny marks. Tiny impressions. Small pieces of trust. Everything remains untouched. He feels settled. Not proud. Only calm. His sandals move quietly over the earth. The ground feels cooler than before. Soon sunlight will return and heat everything again. But for now this hour belongs to softness. He reaches the edge of the yard. Stops. Looks outward. The village is changing. Not awake. Only turning. A faint movement appears near one house. Someone stepping outside. Another doorway opens. A person stands still for a moment and looks at the sky. Then disappears again. Morning always begins with quiet people. Workers. Parents. People preparing. The guard watches without curiosity. Only recognition. He has seen this rhythm too many times to wonder about it. Nearby the air changes again. Not colder. Only lighter. The heavy stillness of deep night begins lifting. The breeze carries different smells now. Less oil. Less dust. More morning. A faint smell of ash. Someone lighting a fire. Soon there will be bread. Soon smoke. Soon voices. The storage houses remain silent. But not for much longer. The guard returns to his place. He sits and sets the lamp beside him. Its flame barely moves. He rests both hands together and watches the sky. His thoughts drift slowly. He remembers mornings from long ago. Walking before sunrise with his father. Carrying small things because he was too young for larger work. Trying to stay awake. Watching adults move without wasting energy. As a child, mornings felt endless. Now they feel brief. He remembers waiting for bread to cool. Remembering how warm it felt in tired hands. He remembers falling asleep in shade after long days. Simple memories. Small memories. People carry these things longer than they expect. Another sound reaches him. Grinding stone. Soft. Steady. Someone has begun preparing grain. The sound turns slowly. Circular. Patient. Morning work. Soon ovens will answer. Soon footsteps. Soon conversation. He smiles faintly. Everything beginning again. He notices movement on the road. A figure approaching. Not close yet. Walking slowly. No rush. As the person comes nearer, details appear. A worker. Carrying something wrapped in cloth. The guard waits. The worker arrives and lifts the cloth. Bread. Still warm. No ceremony. Only a quiet offering. The worker says there was extra. The guard accepts. Both sit for a while. No hurry. No long conversation. They eat quietly. Fresh bread in early morning feels different. Simple. Warm. Comforting. The worker says today may be hot. The guard nods. Probably. The worker says the river looked calm yesterday. The guard nods again. Then silence. After some time the worker stands. Brushes dust from clothing. Leaves. The guard watches him go. Bread finishes. Morning grows. The lamp finally feels unnecessary. He pinches the flame gently. Darkness does not return. There is enough sky now. Enough early light. The lamp rests. Its work complete. Without the lamp, the storage yard feels different. Larger. Open. The walls begin showing color. The ground becomes visible. The buildings look less mysterious. Soon workers will arrive and the quiet will disappear. For now there is still this small peaceful space. He sits in it. No rush to leave. No rush to begin anything else. He listens. More birds now. More movement. More doors. The world assembling itself. The guard feels his tiredness again. Not heavy. Only noticeable. Soon he will sleep. Soon others will work. This exchange feels natural. One person rests. Another continues. Life moves. Always. He stands. Walks slowly toward the entrance. Stops once more. Looks back. The storage houses remain quiet. Rows of patient walls. Holding grain. Holding labor. Holding countless future meals. The sky brightens little by little. The stars retreat. And the guard remains there for a final quiet moment between night and morning, breathing cool air, listening to the ancient world wake before another ordinary day gently begins. The moment between night and day never lasts long. It feels wide while it is happening. Then suddenly it is gone. The guard remains standing near the entrance to the storage yard and watches the world change in slow layers. The sky no longer feels black. It has become deep blue now. Soft. Open. The stars fade quietly. Not disappearing all at once. Only becoming harder to notice. Morning never removes the night. It gently covers it. The guard breathes in. The air still carries coolness. Soon that will change. Soon warmth will return to walls and roads and shoulders. But not yet. This hour belongs to calm. He turns back and walks once more through the storage yard. Without the lamp, details return. The rough texture of mud brick. The marks left by carts. Small footprints crossing dusty ground. A basket resting near a wall. Simple things. Things that disappear in darkness. He pauses beside one of the doors. The seal remains untouched. His fingers rest against the dry clay. It feels cool. Soon sunlight will warm it. He notices how still everything remains. Storage houses always feel different before workers arrive. Like a deep breath before movement begins. Inside grain rests quietly. Outside morning gathers. He sits on the low bench again. Only for a little while. His night is ending. But not yet. There is comfort in not rushing the final moments. From the village comes another sound. A child. Not crying. Just awake. Then another voice. Then footsteps. Morning grows one person at a time. Soon smoke appears above a roof. Thin. Gray. Someone lighting an oven. Another house follows. Then another. The smell reaches him slowly. Warm ash. Bread beginning. Morning food. Simple and familiar. The guard closes his eyes briefly. Not sleeping. Only listening. Bread smells different at dawn. More comforting somehow. Perhaps because people have not yet become tired. Perhaps because morning still feels possible. When he opens his eyes, the sky has changed again. The horizon holds faint color now. Very gentle. Nothing bright. Just enough to soften the land. He notices movement near the road. Workers. The first arrivals. Not many. 2 men carrying tools. Walking without hurry. Their conversation comes and goes with the breeze. Short sentences. Morning voices. One laughs quietly. Then silence again. The guard watches them approach. They nod. He nods. No formal greeting. Everyone understands. Some people are beginning work. Some are ending it. The workers move toward another area. Not the storage houses yet. Repairs perhaps. Sweeping. Preparing. The day slowly builds itself. The guard remains seated. His body feels strangely balanced. Tired. But calm. He has learned not to leave too quickly after long nights. If he rushes home, sleep comes poorly. The body needs transition. So he stays. Watches. Breathes. A bird lands briefly on one roof. Looks around. Leaves. Another appears. Morning creatures replacing night creatures. The guard notices these changes. People who spend long hours outdoors notice small things. Which birds arrive first? Which direction wind moves? How walls cool? How shadows behave? Knowledge that never becomes records. Only habits. Nearby a scribe appears. Walking carefully. Carrying writing tools. The same quiet routine. The scribe approaches. Looks over the yard. Checks the doors. Then sits. Preparation begins. Neither speaks much. They have shared mornings before. The scribe asks, "Peaceful night?" The guard answers, "Peaceful." That is enough. The scribe nods. Nothing else needed. No broken seal. No missing grain. No trouble. Ordinary success. The scribe begins arranging materials. The guard watches. Morning work feels different from night work. Morning gathers. Night protects. Both move slowly. Neither looks dramatic. The sky brightens again. Now the outlines of distant trees become visible. The village no longer sleeps. People move. Water jars travel. Doors open. Someone sweeps. Someone calls softly. Life returning. The guard feels his tiredness deepen. Not suddenly. Just arriving. His body remembers. You stayed awake. Now rest. He stands. Stretches. Picks up the empty lamp. Looks around once more. Everything complete. He begins walking home. The road feels different in morning. Cool beneath his feet. Dust softer. People passing. Someone carrying vegetables. Someone carrying tools. Someone carrying nothing at all. Morning roads belong to beginnings. He moves among them quietly. A woman passes carrying bread. The smell follows briefly. A fisherman walks toward the river. A builder rubs his eyes. Children appear near doorways. Small ordinary scenes. Nothing grand. Everything alive. The guard walks steadily. No hurry. He reaches his home. Stops outside. The wall already warming slightly. Inside quiet. Good. He removes his sandals. Sets down the lamp. Sits. For a moment he does nothing. No movement. No thought. Only stillness. Outside, morning continues becoming day. Inside, night slowly leaves his body. He drinks water. Leans back against the wall. Listens to distant sounds. Grinding grain. Footsteps. A goat somewhere. Life moving. His eyes begin to close. This time sleep arrives more easily. The storage houses remain behind him. Safe. The grain remains resting behind thick walls. Workers begin another day. And the ancient world, warmed by early sunlight and quiet routine, carries on while one tired guard finally drifts into gentle sleep after another long night of watching. Sleep comes softly now. The guard rests inside the cool shade of his home while morning continues outside without him. His breathing becomes slow. His shoulders settle. The careful attention that carried him through the night finally loosens. Outside, the day stretches wider. But inside, time becomes quieter. The room remains dim. The walls hold back part of the growing heat. Light enters only in narrow shapes. Dust drifts through those pale beams and turns slowly in the air. Nothing moves quickly here. A folded cloth rests against one wall. A basket waits near the doorway. A clay jar stands where it always stands. Simple things. Used every day. Quiet companions to ordinary life. The guard sleeps. Not deeply at first. Night workers often remain half aware for a while. A voice outside. Footsteps. Someone passing. These things drift through sleep without fully waking him. Then slowly sleep becomes heavier. Outside, morning becomes day. The storage houses are busy now. Workers arrive in steady numbers. Not crowded. Not noisy. Only constant. A man carries baskets across his shoulders. Another unloads grain. A scribe sits in shade and records numbers. A young worker wipes sweat from his forehead and continues. The day moves in circles. Carry. Measure. Store. Repeat. Carry again. The sun climbs. Walls grow warmer. Dust rises. The quiet coolness of dawn becomes memory. No one complains much. Heat is expected. People adjust. Cloth moves. Water jars become important. Work slows without stopping. One worker pauses near the shade of a wall. Drinks. Looks toward the river. Then returns. Another repairs a broken rope. Another smooths damaged clay. Nothing dramatic. Only maintenance. Entire worlds continue because people repair small things. By midday the roads become brighter. The air grows heavy. People search for shade. Children disappear indoors. Animals rest. Conversations shorten. The heat presses gently across everything. At the storage yard, workers sit briefly to eat. Bread. Vegetables. Water. Someone shares dried fish. Someone says little. Someone closes their eyes while sitting. Nobody rushes. Energy matters. One older worker tells a younger one, save your strength. The day is long. The younger worker nods. People learn slowly. The guard sleeps through most of this. His sleep changes shape. Dreams arrive. Not exciting dreams. Simple dreams. Walking. Opening doors. Watching stars. Standing near grain. Sometimes sleep and memory become difficult to separate. He dreams of carrying baskets years earlier. His younger feet moving quickly. Morning sunlight. Dust. Voices. Then the dream changes. Now he sits beneath stars again. The lamp glows. The storage houses stand quietly. Dreams borrow from routine. Outside his house, life continues. Someone passes carrying water. Someone laughs once. A child runs and is told not to run. A goat complains. Then quiet again. Hours pass. The day slowly begins changing. Sunlight shifts. Shadows move. The hottest part arrives. Then slowly begins leaving. Inside the house, the guard wakes. Not suddenly. Only gradually. His eyes open. For a moment he forgets whether it is morning or evening. Night work sometimes does that. The body loses track. He sits. Listens. The sounds outside tell him. Day. Late day. He drinks water. The jar feels cooler than the air. He washes his face. Stands. His legs feel better. His eyes clearer. Enough sleep. Not perfect. Enough. He steps outside. The sunlight feels softer now. Long shadows have returned. People move differently. Less pressure. More conversation. Workers finishing. Children appearing again. Someone carries firewood. Someone returns from the river. Someone repairs sandals outside their home. The guard watches quietly. Evening always feels calmer after sleeping through midday. He stretches. Looks toward the storage houses in the distance. They are still busy. But not for long. Soon doors will close. Soon seals return. Soon silence. His work waits. He walks slowly through the settlement. Not going anywhere in particular. Only moving. Night workers often do this. Walk before beginning again. See the village. Feel the air. He passes homes. The smell of food appears. Bread again. Cooked vegetables. Warm grain. Smoke. Evening meals beginning. People sit together. Talk quietly. Nothing special. Ordinary evenings. These are the evenings that fill most lives. Not celebrations. Not festivals. Just people returning home. He sees an older man repairing a basket. They nod. No words. Nearby two children draw lines in dust. One notices him and waves. He raises a hand. Keeps walking. The sun lowers. The brightness softens. Walls glow warmer. The air becomes easier. Workers return. Doors close. Animals settle. The village slowly exhales. And once again the storage houses begin changing. Day releases them. The last measurements finish. The last baskets move. Scribes gather tools. Footsteps fade. The familiar quiet begins returning. The guard feels it before he arrives. Evening becoming night. Work becoming watchfulness. Movement becoming stillness. He returns home briefly. Eats. Drinks. Wraps cloth over one shoulder. Takes the lamp. Checks the oil. Enough. Always enough. He steps outside. The sky begins deepening. The first stars wait beyond fading daylight. The roads cool beneath his feet. And slowly with patient steps and rested eyes he walks once more toward the grain storage houses where another long quiet night is already beginning to unfold. Evening settles over the land the way fine dust settles after footsteps. Slowly. Softly. Without anyone noticing the exact moment. The guard walks the familiar road carrying the lamp at his side. The oil inside shifts gently with each step. The clay feels cool in his hand now, though later in the night it will hold warmth again. The village behind him is changing shape. Daytime movement still remains. But it grows quieter. People return home. Voices lower. Work ends in small pieces. No one announces the end of the day. People simply begin moving differently. A woman folds cloth outside her doorway. A worker rinses dust from his arms. Someone carries water before darkness arrives. Children move more slowly now. Even they become quieter in evening. The guard passes these scenes as he always does. Nothing unusual. That is part of their comfort. The road bends slightly. And there ahead the storage houses wait. Rows of thick walls standing beneath a sky that slowly becomes deeper and wider. They look different every evening. Almost as if they have been resting during the day and are now becoming still again. A few workers remain. One door closes. Another seal is pressed. Someone brushes dust from clothing. Someone stretches. Someone yawns. No one looks rushed. The day has already taken enough energy. The guard enters the yard. Several people glance up. Small greetings. Nothing more. Routine creates quiet friendships. No explanations needed. One worker lifts a clay cup and offers water. The guard accepts. Drinks. Returns the cup. Simple kindness. Shared labor often looks like very small things. Soon the workers leave. One by one. A scribe gathers brushes carefully. Checks records. Looks once across the yard. Then walks away. A laborer picks up an empty basket and disappears into evening. The final footsteps fade. The yard grows larger. Again. The guard stands alone. Again. He begins. Always the same beginning. Walk. Door. Seal. Wall. Corner. Look. Listen. Continue. His body already knows the order. He touches the first seal. Dry. Secure. The second. Secure. The third. Secure. Everything in place. He finishes his round and returns to the usual spot. Sets down the lamp. Lights it. The flame appears. Small. Steady. Enough. The sky above deepens further. The first stars return. They arrive quietly. One. Then another. Then many. Even after years, the guard notices them. Night feels incomplete until the stars appear. He sits. The evening air feels pleasant. Not cool. Only lighter than daytime. The heavy warmth has released its grip. The guard rests both hands against the earth. Still carrying some warmth from the day. Soon that warmth will leave. The storage houses remain silent. Inside them grain. Dry. Still. Patient. Thousands of gathered days. Outside one worker. Watching. The sounds of evening continue for a while. Cooking. Voices. A distant laugh. A door closing. Then gradually those sounds move farther away. The village folds inward. People gather inside homes. Meals begin. Bread breaks. Stories repeat. Someone talks about work. Someone talks about weather. Someone says very little. The guard imagines none of this directly. But after enough nights you begin sensing rhythms. You know when meals happen. You know when children settle. You know when tired people finally become quiet. He looks upward. The stars are brighter now. His eyes move between them slowly. No searching. Only recognition. He notices one star he always notices. Not because it means anything special. Only because it appears near the start of most nights. A familiar beginning. He breathes. The air smells faintly of bread and dust. A pleasant smell. Nearby something shifts. The guard looks. Only cloth moving in the breeze. Nothing more. He smiles faintly. Night changes attention. Small things become events. A breeze becomes noticeable. A sound becomes important. Time stretches. He stands. Walks again. Not because he must. Because movement keeps thoughts clear. He circles the buildings. His sandals make soft sounds. Step. Step. Pause. Step. At one doorway he stops longer. Not from concern. Only because this one always sticks slightly in daytime heat. Now it rests closed and calm. He places a hand against it. Cool. Different from afternoon. Everything changes through the day. Doors. Walls. People. Even silence changes. He continues. At the far side of the yard he pauses. Looks toward the river. Still unseen. But present. Always present. The air feels different facing that direction. A little softer. A little deeper somehow. The guard wonders briefly what the river looks like right now. Dark water. Quiet movement. Perhaps fishermen preparing for tomorrow. Perhaps boats tied and resting. Then the thought passes. He returns. Sits again. The lamp glows. Night deepens. The village grows quieter. The stars spread farther. His shoulders relax. His breathing slows. The first true layer of night settles over everything. Not the evening quiet. Something deeper. The hour when people stop moving. When roads empty. When houses become still. The guard recognizes it immediately. Another night has properly begun. He adjusts the lamp. Looks once across the storage yard. Everything safe. Everything ordinary. Exactly as it should be. He settles into stillness. And beneath the endless ancient sky with warm air drifting gently across mud brick walls, the long work of simply staying awake begins again. The night deepens slowly, like water filling a quiet place. The guard sits beside the lamp and feels the familiar change settle around him. Evening has fully stepped away now. This is no longer the hour of cooking fires and returning footsteps. Those sounds have faded. The village behind him feels distant. Not far away. Only quieter. Inside homes, people are resting. Meals have ended. Children have fallen asleep in strange directions across woven mats. Conversations have become shorter. Someone has finished washing the last bowl. Someone has checked the doorway one final time. Someone has closed tired eyes. The guard remains awake. His work begins where many other routines end. He watches the storage houses. Rows of quiet walls beneath the stars. Their shapes are simple. Nothing decorative. Nothing meant to impress. Only thick walls. Strong doors. Useful spaces. And yet they hold something deeply human. Inside rests effort. Inside rests future meals. Inside rests ordinary days waiting to happen. The guard looks at the lamp. Its flame is steady tonight. No strong wind. Only small movements in the air. He lowers his shoulders and listens. Night always has sounds. People imagine ancient nights as completely silent. But silence has layers. He hears distant insects. The soft movement of air. A faint shifting sound somewhere inside the walls as buildings cool. His own breathing. Even quiet places are alive. He rubs his hands together slowly. Not because of cold. Only habit. His fingers remember work. Old work. Years of lifting and carrying. The body remembers things long after tasks end. His hands are no longer as quick as before. That does not bother him. Night work asks for patience more than speed. Patience grows slowly. Like storage houses. Like riverbanks. Like trust. He stands. Walks. The same path. Always familiar. Always slightly new. Tonight the ground feels smoother. Perhaps because fewer carts pass today. Perhaps because his thoughts are quieter. He reaches the first door. Looks closely. Nothing changed. Good. He moves to the next. Touches the seal. Secure. His movements are calm. No hurry. Nothing dramatic happens during most nights. And because nothing happens, everything continues. He likes this thought. He reaches the outer wall and stops. Looks toward the village. Dark shapes. Flat rooftops. Sleeping homes. He imagines warm rooms. People lying close together. A jar of water nearby. A folded cloth. Someone breathing deeply after a day in the fields. Someone dreaming. Someone turning over and settling again. Sleep feels different after physical work. Heavy. Complete. Night guards know this. They stay awake while everyone else disappears into that deep place. He turns and walks back. The lamp glows softly. The storage yard feels almost peaceful enough to sleep in. Almost. But not quite. He sits. Looks upward. The stars are higher now. More numerous. Night has opened fully. His thoughts become slower. Not sleepy yet. Only softer. He remembers a year when the river rose well. People spoke differently that season. More relaxed. Less worried. Storage houses filled steadily. Workers looked tired but hopeful. Bread felt easier that year. Then he remembers another season. Hotter. Longer. People counted more carefully. Conversations became quieter. Storage matters more during difficult seasons. That is why these walls exist. That is why someone stays awake. The guard does not think of his work in grand ways. But somewhere inside him he understands. Ordinary care protects ordinary life. He notices movement. Small. Near one corner. He watches. Waits. A cat appears. Slow. Confident. Its eyes catch a little lamplight. The cat pauses. Looks toward him. Then continues along the wall. Storage houses belong partly to cats after dark. The guard watches it disappear. Returns to stillness. Time stretches. The lamp burns. The stars shift. He drinks a little water. Warm now. Still welcome. He closes his eyes for a few breaths. Listens. The air moves gently. No danger. Only night. He opens his eyes again. Looks toward the road. Empty. Most nights the road remains empty. That emptiness becomes familiar. He thinks briefly about people in other places. Other villages. Other roads. Other storage houses. Perhaps somewhere another worker sits beneath another small lamp. Watching. Listening. Waiting. Not knowing that someone elsewhere is doing exactly the same. The thought feels comforting. Ordinary lives often move in quiet parallel. He stands again. Walks farther this time. Past the final row. Toward the edge where the ground opens slightly. From here the sky feels even larger. He looks up. No clouds. Only stars. His father once said that stars make the night feel less empty. He remembers hearing that as a child. He thinks perhaps it is true. The stars do not warm you. They do not feed you. But they remind you that darkness has shape. He stands there for a while, breathing, listening, then returns, sits beside the lamp. Night continues. Not faster, not slower, only steadily. The air cools a little. The walls release warmth. The village sleeps deeply now. And beneath endless stars among quiet mud brick walls with grain resting safely behind closed doors, one patient guard remains awake, keeping watch while the ancient world drifts farther into sleep. The night settles more deeply now. The hours after midnight feel different from the hours before it. Earlier, the world was becoming quiet. Now it has become quiet. The change is subtle. But the guard feels it. The village no longer seems nearby. It feels folded into itself. The roads hold no footsteps. The houses show no movement. Even the animals seem calmer. The storage yard stands beneath the stars like something resting. The guard remains beside the lamp. He shifts his weight slightly. One leg stretched. One knee raised. His body has learned this posture over years. Comfort enough to wait. Not comfortable enough to sleep. Night work teaches careful comfort. Too much ease becomes dangerous. Too much stiffness becomes exhausting. Balance. Everything becomes balance. He looks across the nearest wall. The surface is uneven. Years of repairs visible even in low light. One section smoother. Another rougher. A corner rebuilt. Someone's work remains long after the worker is forgotten. He likes that thought. Most useful work leaves no names behind. Only walls. Only roads. Only ordinary things continuing. He listens. The wind changes. Very soft. Enough to touch the flame. The lamp bends and steadies again. He watches it. Small flames always seem alive. They move. React. Quiet companions through long hours. He adjusts the wick slightly. The flame settles. Good. His eyes move upward. The stars are different now. Higher. More settled. Night has reached its center. He remembers learning the sky as a younger man. Not from lessons. From work. People who wake early or sleep late slowly become familiar with patterns. This cluster means the night has moved. That one means morning is still far away. Nothing exact. Only feeling. Enough. He stands. Walks. Step. Step. Pause. His sandals press softly against packed earth. No hurry. The same route. The same walls. But nights never feel completely identical. Tonight the air is smoother. The ground quieter. His thoughts gentler. He reaches the first storage house. Places his palm against the wall. Cooler now. The daytime warmth has almost completely left. Mud brick changes slowly. Like people. Holding heat. Releasing it. Taking time. He walks farther. At one doorway he notices faint marks near the bottom. Old marks. Maybe from baskets. Maybe from workers leaning tools. Ordinary traces. The storage houses collect years quietly. He imagines how many hands touched these doors. Workers. Scribes. Guards. Repairers. People bringing grain. People collecting grain. Years passing through. Yet every night returns to stillness. That thought feels peaceful. He reaches the edge of the yard and stops. Looks outward. Darkness. But not empty darkness. Layered darkness. Road. Field. River beyond. He cannot see them clearly. But he knows they exist. Ancient nights depend heavily on memory. You know where things are because you always have. He listens. Far away. A soft sound. Like water touching something. Or reeds moving. Perhaps the river. Perhaps imagination. Either feels acceptable. The river exists whether heard or not. He returns. Sits again. His thoughts slow. He remembers evenings at home years ago. Coming back tired. Eating quietly. Sleeping quickly. Back then the idea of staying awake all night seemed difficult. Now it feels familiar. Bodies adapt. Life changes. Work changes. People change. But routines remain. Nearby a tiny movement catches his eye. Not an animal. Only a loose piece of cloth near the bench lifting slightly in the breeze. He watches anyway. At night small things become interesting. You begin noticing details hidden during the day. The shape of shadows. The way dust settles. The way buildings breathe as they cool. His breathing deepens. His eyes feel heavy for a moment. He notices immediately. Stands. Walks again. Longer this time. He circles all the buildings. No stopping. Movement helps. His body wakes slightly. Enough. At the final doorway he pauses. Listens. Nothing. Of course. Still he listens. Night work is partly listening to nothing. And learning what ordinary nothing sounds like. That way unusual sounds become obvious. He returns to the lamp. Sits. Takes a small drink. The water is warm. But familiar. He looks upward once more. The stars continue their slow work. Time moves. Even when it feels still. The village sleeps. Some people dream. Some turn in sleep. Some wake briefly and drink water. Someone somewhere cannot sleep and lies awake listening to night. Ordinary things happening quietly. The guard remains where he is. Watching. Waiting. Not because danger feels close. But because care itself is work. And work done gently still matters. The air cools another little degree. The lamp glows softly. The storage houses stand patient and silent. And somewhere beyond dark roads and sleeping homes the river continues moving beneath the stars. While one steady pair of tired eyes remains open. Watching over grain, watching over morning through another calm and endless ancient night. The night continues without hurry. No one is counting the hours. Not exactly. The guard does not think in numbers while sitting beside the storage houses. He thinks in changes. The lamp burns lower. The air cools slightly. The stars move a little. His thoughts become quieter. That is how night measures itself. He remains seated for a long time. Long enough that his eyes stop searching. Long enough that the shapes around him become familiar again. The buildings no longer feel separate. They become one quiet landscape. Wall. Door. Shadow. Lamp. Earth. Sky. The storage yard becomes its own small world. He rests both hands against the ground beside him. The earth feels dry. Fine dust gathers along his fingers. Dust never truly leaves. People wash. Sweep. Shake cloth. Still dust returns. Roads make it. Wind carries it. Work creates it. Dust belongs to ordinary life. He brushes his hands together softly. Looks toward the nearest doorway. Everything remains still. Inside grain. Always grain. Dry. Waiting. The guard sometimes thinks grain feels peaceful. Not alive. Not asleep. Only waiting. Waiting to become bread. Waiting to become meals. Waiting to become strength for another day. Simple things rarely ask for attention. Until they disappear. That is why people protect them. He stands again. His knees feel stiff. He stretches one leg carefully. Then begins walking. Slow. Steady. He knows each place where the ground changes. Each uneven spot. Each smoother path. Night walking becomes memory more than sight. He reaches the far side of the yard. Stops. Looks upward. The stars feel quieter now. Not fewer. Only calmer. Perhaps he is calmer. He follows one bright point for a while. Then another. His father once said if you stay awake long enough, stars begin feeling slower. As a child that sounded impossible. Now he understands. Not because stars move slowly. Because tiredness changes time. The guard smiles slightly. Then continues walking. He notices the walls releasing cooler air. Mud brick changes through the night. During the day it absorbs heat. At night it lets go. People do something similar. Days fill people. Night empties them. He touches one wall lightly. Cool now. Very different from afternoon. He thinks of workers leaning against these same walls tomorrow. Searching for shade. Closing tired eyes for a moment. Then returning to work. Every hour has its own use. He returns to the lamp. Sits. Listens. The silence feels deeper now. This is not evening silence. Evening still contains movement. This silence belongs to sleeping. The kind where roads become forgotten. Where conversations stop. Where people breathe deeply. He imagines homes nearby. Someone sleeping beside an open doorway. Someone wrapped lightly. Someone dreaming about work. Dreams often borrow from daily routines. People carry water all day and dream of carrying water. People repair baskets and dream of baskets. Night workers dream of lamps and stars. The thought feels ordinary. Comforting. Nearby a tiny sound. He turns. Nothing. Then again. Very faint. A little scratching. He waits. A moment later a mouse slips along the edge of a wall. Quick. Small. Gone. The guard watches where it disappeared. Then nods slightly. Of course. Where grain exists, small visitors come. That is one reason cats return. Nothing unusual. He relaxes again. His eyes drift toward the road. Empty. Dark. He thinks about roads at night. Roads feel different when unused. During daylight they belong to everyone. Workers. Children. Animals. Carts. At night roads become quiet lines connecting sleeping places. Simple. Still. He wonders briefly where the road continues beyond places he knows. More villages. More workers. More storage yards. More ordinary lives. Then the thought disappears. The world feels large at night. Too large to think about for long. He adjusts the lamp. Adds a little oil. The smell rises briefly. Familiar. Comforting. He remembers nights from years ago when he first began this work. Back then he checked everything too often. Walked too quickly. Listened too hard. Experience changed that. Now he understands rhythm. Check. Sit. Listen. Walk. Trust. Night work becomes quieter with time. He leans back slightly. Looks upward. His eyes feel heavy again. Not enough. He notices. Stands. Walks. Always before tiredness becomes stronger. This walk feels slower than earlier. His body knows this hour. The hour when sleep begins asking questions. He circles the buildings once more. At the final corner he stops. Looks toward the river. Invisible. Present. Always. He imagines dark water moving. Never stopping. Even now. While villages sleep. While grain waits. While lamps burn. The river continues. He likes that thought. Some things continue whether watched or not. He returns. Sits beside the lamp. The night remains calm. The stars continue overhead. The village sleeps deeply. And beneath the endless sky among silent walls and quiet stores of grain one patient guard remains awake, keeping company with the darkness, waiting gently for the first hidden signs that morning will someday return. The night becomes quieter than silence. Not because all sound disappears. But because the sounds that remain begin to feel farther apart. The guard sits beside the lamp and notices how long each moment feels now. The air moves. Then stillness. A tiny sound from somewhere beyond the walls. Then stillness again. A shift of cloth. Then quiet. The world feels slower. This is the hour that asks patience from everyone who remains awake. His lamp glows softly beside him. Not bright. Only enough. The circle of light feels smaller than before. Or perhaps the darkness feels larger. Either way, it does not trouble him. He has learned that night does not need much light. Only attention. He lowers his head slightly and rests his hands together. His eyes remain open. His breathing stays steady. This part of the night often feels suspended. Nothing arriving. Nothing changing. Only time passing invisibly. He looks upward. The stars have moved again. Not enough to notice quickly. Only enough to notice if you have stayed awake. That is one of the strange gifts of long nights. You begin seeing motion in still things. The sky changes. The air changes. Walls cool. Darkness softens. Everything moves. Only slowly. He stands. Not because he must. Only because his body asks for movement. His knees resist at first. Then loosen. He walks. Step. Step. Pause. His sandals make soft sounds against the earth. The same sounds they made yesterday. And the night before. And many nights before that. Routine leaves quiet footprints. He reaches the nearest storage house. Places his hand against the wall. Cool now. The daytime heat has almost completely disappeared. Mud brick gives back warmth little by little. Nothing sudden. The guard thinks people are similar. After long days, people slowly become themselves again. Evening softens them. Night quiets them. Sleep restores them. Morning sends them back out. He smiles faintly at the thought. Then continues. At one doorway he kneels. Looks at the seal. Dry. Unbroken. He notices tiny marks beside it. Old marks. Nothing important. Still he notices. Night makes people observant. During the day this would mean nothing. At night, details feel larger. He stands again. Walks farther. At the edge of the yard he stops. Looks outward. Dark roads. Sleeping homes. Invisible river. He cannot see much. But he knows where everything is. Knowledge replaces sight. Perhaps that is true of many things. He listens. A soft movement. Wind through something. Reeds perhaps. Or trees. Then quiet. He stays there a little longer. The night air feels different now. Cooler. Not cold. Only gentler. The kind of air that reminds you morning exists somewhere far away. Not close. But possible. He returns. Sits again. His shoulders relax. His eyes move slowly across the storage yard. He remembers evenings from years earlier. Returning home after field work. Hands sore. Feet aching. Falling asleep before stars fully appeared. Back then he thought staying awake through the whole night belonged only to unusual people. Now he understands. Night workers are ordinary. Just awake at different times. Someone watches. Someone bakes. Someone prepares boats. Someone repairs tools before sunrise. The world never truly sleeps. It only changes shifts. The thought feels peaceful. Nearby another tiny sound. He looks. A cat again. The same one perhaps. Or another. Moving quietly along the edge of the yard. Its steps careful. Its body low. The guard watches. The cat pauses. Looks toward him. Then disappears. He nods once. Storage houses and cats understand each other. Night after night. Nothing more to say. Time stretches. The lamp burns lower. The stars continue. His thoughts become softer. He thinks briefly about bread. Fresh morning bread. Warm in the hands. Simple thoughts arrive during late hours. Nothing complicated. Just ordinary comforts. Water. Shade. Rest. Food. These things feel large at night. He drinks a little water. Warm. Still welcome. He closes his eyes for a breath. Then another. Then opens them. Still awake. Good. He stands again. Long nights teach honesty. If tiredness arrives, move. He walks the full circle. Once. Twice. Slowly. At the final doorway he stops. Looks upward. The stars nearest the horizon feel different. Not fading. Not yet. Only lower. Time continues quietly. He realizes another portion of night has passed. Without effort. Without noticing. That is often how life moves. Not in big moments. But in small repeated ones. He returns to the lamp. Sits. The storage houses remain silent. Inside grain rests. Outside the air grows softer. The village sleeps deeply. The river continues moving somewhere beyond sight. And one steady pair of tired eyes remains open, watching, waiting. Keeping gentle company with another ancient night beneath the endless sky. The deepest part of the night has a different feeling from every hour that comes before it. The guard knows this well. Earlier hours belong to transition. People returning home. Meals ending. Doors closing. Later hours belong to sleep. But this hour, this quiet middle place, feels almost separate from time. The storage yard seems wider now. The spaces between the buildings feel longer. The darkness appears softer. The lamp beside him glows with calm certainty. Its flame is smaller than before. Still steady. Still enough. The guard sits quietly and watches the yard. Nothing moves. Nothing needs to. This is the kind of night people hope for. Not memorable. Not difficult. Only peaceful. He rests one arm across his knee. Looks toward the nearest wall. Its surface is uneven. He notices details that daylight usually hides. Small repairs. Tiny lines. Different colors in older and newer clay. Hands built these walls. Hands repaired them. Hands carried grain into them. Hands locked their doors. Ordinary hands. Thousands over the years. The thought stays with him. People leave themselves behind in useful places. He closes his eyes for a moment. Not to sleep. Only to listen. The night feels larger with closed eyes. He hears wind moving softly somewhere beyond the village. A faint shifting sound from cooling walls. His own breathing. Then stillness. He opens his eyes again. Everything unchanged. Good. He stands. His body moves more carefully now. The later hours ask gentleness. He stretches. Feels stiffness in his back. Not pain. Only time. He walks. Step. Step. Pause. His feet know where to go. He no longer thinks about direction. His body remembers. He reaches one doorway. Places a hand against it. Cool. Dry. Secure. He moves on. At another doorway he stops longer. Not because anything is wrong. Only because the silence there feels complete. He listens. Nothing. And somehow nothing feels reassuring. Inside grain. Outside watchfulness. That is enough. He continues. At the far side of the yard he notices the air changing again. Very slightly. He cannot explain it. Only feel it. Night air changes in layers. Some moments feel warmer. Some softer. Some seem to carry distance. This hour carries distance. He looks toward where the river lies. Invisible. Always there. He imagines dark water flowing. Slow. Steady. Never asking attention. He likes that. Useful things often continue quietly. His thoughts drift. He remembers an old worker once saying that grain teaches patience. At the time he did not understand. Now perhaps he does. You plant. Wait. Harvest. Store. Wait again. Everything important seems to involve waiting. He smiles faintly. Then returns to the lamp. He sits. The flame bends once in a breeze. Then steadies. Nearby a sound. Not close. A donkey somewhere in the village. A low quiet sound. Then silence again. Even sleeping places make small reminders of themselves. The guard listens until the quiet returns. He notices his eyes feeling heavier. This hour often does that. Not dangerous. Only honest. He stands before tiredness grows. Walks again. Longer this time. Past every storage building. Around every corner, dust gathers softly around his sandals. The earth feels cooler. The buildings release their final warmth. He pauses at the outer edge. Looks upward. The stars seem very clear tonight. Some appear sharp, others softer. He wonders briefly how many nights he has spent beneath them. Too many to count. Enough that certain patterns feel like old neighbors. He remembers being younger, thinking older workers knew impossible things. How to read weather. How to know time. How to stay calm. Now he understands. People do not suddenly become experienced. They simply repeat ordinary days long enough. The thought comforts him. Nothing magical. Only time. He returns. Sits again. The lamp waits. The storage houses remain silent. His thoughts become smaller. Simple. Water. Bread. Shade. Morning. He realizes morning will come eventually. Not soon. But eventually. That thought changes nothing. Still it feels pleasant. He drinks the last little bit from his jar. Warm now. He sets it down. Looks across the yard. Everything remains exactly as before. And somehow that feels good. No surprises. No trouble. Only walls. Grain. Stars. Wind. His own breathing. The village sleeps. People dream. Somewhere a child turns in sleep. Someone pulls cloth closer. Someone wakes briefly and returns to rest. Ordinary life resting quietly. The guard remains awake. Not lonely. Not restless. Only present. And beneath the endless ancient sky with the lamp burning softly and the grain sleeping safely behind thick walls, another patient hour of night slowly passes into the next. And after another long quiet night, the world continues turning in its slow and patient way. The guard remains seated for a little while longer. No need to stand yet. No need to hurry toward morning. The lamp beside him burns with only a small remaining glow. Its light no longer reaches very far. It rests gently on the ground between him and the sleeping storage houses. The air has changed again. Not brighter. Not fully. Only softer. The kind of softness that arrives before dawn remembers itself. He looks once more across the yard. The walls remain still. The doors remain closed. Everything is exactly as it should be. Inside the thick mud brick walls, grain waits quietly. Dry. Patient. Ready for future mornings. Ready for ovens. Ready for bread. Ready for ordinary days that will come and go without anyone thinking too much about where they began. The guard breathes slowly. His shoulders feel heavy now. Not from worry. Only from time. From sitting. From walking. From staying awake while others rested. He places one hand against the earth. Cool. Calm. The night has given back all the heat it borrowed from the day. Above him, the stars remain. Though not with the same strength. One by one they begin becoming harder to notice. Not disappearing. Only stepping farther away. The guard watches them without thinking. No counting. No remembering. Only looking. A faint breeze moves across the storage yard. It touches the walls. Touches the lamp. Touches his face. Then continues on towards sleeping homes and quiet roads and the unseen river beyond. Far away, so far that it almost feels imagined, water continues moving. The river never stopped. Not during the heat. Not during the harvest. Not during the quiet night. It continues now. Steady. Patient. Like time. The guard reaches forward and gently lowers the lamp until the flame becomes very small. Then smaller. Then still. Darkness remains. But it no longer feels deep. The sky has begun carrying enough light of its own. He stands. Slowly. Brushes dust from his clothing. Looks once more at the storage houses. No words. No ceremony. Only a quiet understanding. The grain stayed safe. The night passed peacefully. That is enough. He begins walking home. His sandals move softly across the road. Behind him the storage houses remain. Ahead warm bread will bake. Doors will open. Workers will stretch tired shoulders. Children will wake. Dust will rise. Life will continue. As it always has. As quietly as stars fading into morning. The guard walks. The village breathes. The river flows. And the ancient world, wrapped in the gentle colors of early dawn, slowly closes its eyes once more until all that remains is soft air, cool earth, distant water, and the feeling of another peaceful night carried quietly into sleep.